here, and you have in your manuals, the key facts. If we can teach our children the key facts of a controller, then perhaps it will make them feel better in themselves when somebody's trying to control them and get them to do things that they don't want to do. Controllers generally, maybe not always, but generally have low self-esteem. They generally lack confidence, and a controller will try to control anybody that will allow them to do so. So if Mary won't let the controller control her, then the controller will go on to somebody who will. The point about this is nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. So if we don't allow somebody to control us, they haven't made us feel inferior. But that's quite difficult when you're a child, isn't it? Very often controllers are unhappy people. And the other thing about a controller is that they may never be able to change the way they are. So therefore, if your child has a problem with a bully in the playground, it may be that that bully is going to be a bully for their entire lives. Because there are some people who are like that, for whatever reason. Most people can change, and they do change, but some people aren't ever going to change. So what do we say to our children when they come across this one person that they probably know is never going to change? In life, you will always come across bullies. Right, what are bullies like? Change the page. Okay, Oliver put his hand up first. Let's start with you.
Jealous people who don't have many friends.
Okay, jealous. We'll put 2 down there. Not many friends. Jenny?
Rude.
Rude. Okay, so we're actually looking at what this person is actually like, their characteristics. There. Mean.
They're a bit selfish.
Selfish. Katie?
It's a bit like they think that they're kind of in charge of you.
Okay, in charge of you. Please?
They humiliate you.
They can do, can't they? Humiliate. Okay. Have a look at all those words. Somebody who's like that, where is their locus of control?
At the bottom.
It's very low, isn't it? Why do you think it's at the bottom? Katie?
Because they've got a problem, and instead of sharing it with other people and being kind, they're letting it out on everyone else and trying to blame everyone else for everything.
Okay. So when we blame, which people like this do, our locus of control is down here, isn't it?
Because they have problems with their family.
Okay, they have problems. With the family. You said something? They need to take it out on other people,
Yeah.
is what you said, isn't it? So they need to take it out on others.
Because they want to make fun of people because they think it's funny.
Okay, they think it's funny, don't they? Why would somebody think it was funny to make fun of somebody else? Tell me. No, yeah, you. Okay, you tell me.
Because they like people to be all scared of them.
So, because they like them to be scared of them. Any thoughts, Blair?
Because they want other people to be their friends, because they don't have the social skills to get friends, maybe.
Okay, so that's a very good point. They lack social skills. Sarah?
They like to think that they have something that they control or have power over.
So they need to control someone, don't they? And often they need to control somebody because somebody else is controlling them. You sometimes have a group of 4 or 5 people who are the class bullies, but actually you usually find it's only one of them that is the controller. and the rest of them have had their locus of control taken away and they're doing something that they don't particularly want to do, but that's just how it is. Because they think that that bully is the only friend they're going to get, because they aren't going to get any more. Yeah? Any of you ever bullied anybody? Yes. You're allowed to admit it. You're just human beings, and it happens to all of us. Blair?
Sometimes you're like forced to bully someone, like peer pressure. Somebody says if you don't, like if all the class start doing it, you feel
Yeah.
as though you have to do it. Otherwise, you'll be like branded with a name. Like
Yeah. And it's difficult, isn't it, not to become part of that? That's really hard, and you can be the strongest person, the highest locus of control in the world. But if you're in that situation, sometimes it's really hard to stand out in the crowd, isn't it? Really hard. You always feel bad about it. Even bullies feel bad about it. But because sometimes it goes on and on and on, it just becomes part of them. Well, I do this. And that becomes part of how they are. If we were this bully, which we sometimes are, what could another person do to try and help us feel better about ourselves? Because we're not feeling good about ourselves. So what can they do to try and help us?
They can keep on being nice to the bully, and then the bully will just get like calmer.
They may in their own mind not understand why you're being nice to them. But it certainly is not going to do any harm, is it? What else?
Try to ignore them.
Try to ignore them. What do you find if you're successful in doing that, ignoring somebody who's being unkind to you? What do you find happens?
they start to get bored.
They do, don't they? They move on. Unfortunately, they move on to somebody else. But at least that looks after you. Oliver.
You could actually agree with them and say, yeah, I am that, I don't really care.
Do you all now realise, I think you probably realised it before you came in, but could you really now put it into your mind that if somebody does bully you, they have got all these problems. Alright, now that might not necessarily make you feel any better, but sometimes when we can look at a situation differently and think, well, you do have a problem here, it makes it not so difficult for us to cope with. What you have to decide is what will you accept from somebody else. And if they make you feel awful, and they keep on making you feel awful, you have a right for that not to happen to you. So you have to decide what you'll accept.